Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The sink was dripping again at midnight when Vanessa stormed into our cramped apartment, her designer heels clicking against the warped hardwood like gunshots. I was elbow-deep in rusty pipes, my IT tech salary barely covering rent in this dump, when she launched into her favorite speech about how I never measured up. "You know what, Logan? I could replace you in 24 hours, she spat, her perfectly manicured finger jabbing at my chest. "Any woman would be lucky to have what I have to offer. You? You're just replaceable." I straightened up, wiping my hands on an old towel. After 3 years of engagement and months of her subtle hints about better options, something inside me finally snapped. Not with anger, with cold, calculated clarity. "Go ahead," I said, meeting her shocked stare. "Knock yourself out, Vanessa. I'll even help you pack my stuff." Her mouth fell open. She'd expected me to grovel, to beg, to promise I'd change. Instead, I was already mentally cataloging which boxes I'd need. You can't be serious," she stammered. "Dead serious. 24 hours, right? Should be plenty of time for someone as amazing as you." I grabbed my jacket from the chair. "I'll be back for my things tomorrow." As I headed for the door, I caught sight of her reflection in the hallway mirror. Red-faced, sputtering, completely blindsided. For once, Vanessa Clark didn't have a comeback. The rusty anchor was nearly empty when I walked in, just me and a few regulars nursing their sorrows. Shayla Brooks was behind the bar, her dark hair pulled back, revealing the small scar on her neck from a childhood accident. She'd been Vanessa's best friend since college, but lately I'd noticed the way she looked at me, like she was seeing something Vanessa had missed. "Rough night?" Shayla asked, already reaching for the whiskey. "You could say that. Apparently I'm about to be replaced in 24 hours. Shayla's hand paused over the bottle. "Vanessa said that?" "Word for word, so I guess I'm back on the market." She poured a double, her fingers brushing mine as she slid it across the bar. "You were never really off it, Logan. She just made you think you were." By morning, Vanessa's social media was already buzzing with new beginnings posts. I watched from my temporary crash pad at Pete's place as she uploaded carefully filtered selfies with captions about knowing your worth and exciting changes ahead. The irony wasn't lost on me. She was trying to replace me on the same apps where she'd been secretly shopping for upgrades all along. Maya Rivera, Vanessa's office sidekick, texted me around noon. "She's losing her mind. Downloaded every dating app known to humanity. This is insane, Logan." I almost felt sorry for Vanessa. Almost. Until I remembered the credit card bills I'd found, the mysterious girls' nights that ended at 3 a.m., and the way she'd started treating me like an inconvenient roommate rather than her fiancé. That evening at the Rusty Anchor, Shayla filled me in on the disaster unfolding in real time. "She went on 3 dates yesterday," Shayla said, wiping down glasses with more force than necessary. 3. One guy left after she spent an hour talking about her ex. That's you, by the way. Another one stuck her with the check when she started live tweeting their conversation. And the third? Craig Jensen. I nearly choked on my beer. CJ? That pretentious ass with the Tesla and the CrossFit obsession? The very one. Apparently he's been sliding into her DMs for months. Of course he had. CJ was the type of guy who collected other men's girlfriends like trophies. He ran some vague consulting business that seemed to consist mainly of posting motivational quotes on LinkedIn and hitting on married women at networking events. "She thinks she's won the lottery," Shayla continued, posted a picture of his car with the caption, "Upgrade complete." I pulled out my phone and scrolled through Vanessa's Instagram. There it was, a photo of CJ's white Tesla taken from the passenger seat. The comments were already pouring in from her jealous friends, all heart-eye emojis and get-it-girl encouragements. "You know what's funny?" I said, showing Shayla the post. "She always complained that I was too practical, too boring. Now she's dating a guy who probably irons his gym clothes." Shayla laughed, but there was something else in her eyes, something that made my chest tighten in a way it hadn't in months. "Logan," she said quietly, "there's something you should know about CJ and Vanessa." "What?" "They didn't just start talking yesterday. Gemma from her office told me they've been close for at least 2 months. The pieces clicked into place. The late nights, the sudden interest in fitness, the way she'd started picking fights over nothing. She hadn't replaced me in 24 hours. She'd been auditioning my replacement for weeks. "Well," I said, raising my glass, "here's to 24 hours of bullshit finally coming to light." As if summoned by our conversation, the bar door swung open, and in walked Vanessa and CJ, both glowing with the smug satisfaction of people who thought they'd pulled off the perfect crime. CJ spotted me immediately and steered Vanessa toward our end of the bar, his arm possessively around her waist. "Logan," he called out with fake enthusiasm. "Heard you're flying solo these days. Tough break, man." Vanessa smirked, clearly expecting me to crumble under the weight of seeing her with her upgrade. Instead, I smiled and stood up. "CJ, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for taking her off my hands. Really saved me the trouble of figuring out how to break an engagement without looking like the bad guy." The smirk faltered on Vanessa's face. "I mean," I continued, "when someone tells you they can replace you in 24 hours, and then they actually do it with someone they've been texting for 2 months, well, that's not replacement. That's just finally being honest about the cheating." The bar went quiet. Even the jukebox seemed to pause between songs. CJ's face went red. "Hey now, that's not—" "Oh, it's cool," I interrupted. "Really, I'm actually grateful. Vanessa did me a huge favor by showing me exactly who she is before I made the mistake of actually marrying her." I turned to Shayla, who was watching the whole scene with barely contained amusement. "Another round?" I asked her. "I'm celebrating my freedom." As Shayla poured, I heard Vanessa hiss something at CJ about handling this, but they both seemed unsure how to respond to someone who wasn't playing the victim. That's when things got interesting. Over the next few weeks, I watched Vanessa's 24-hour replacement plan implode in spectacular fashion. What started as a social media victory lap turned into a public relations nightmare that even CJ's motivational quotes couldn't fix. The first crack appeared when Gemma, the office gossip who'd initially supported Vanessa's glow-up, started asking uncomfortable questions about the timeline. Turns out, when you brag about replacing someone in a day while posting months-old photos with your new boyfriend, people start doing math. "She's scrambling," Maya told me during one of our coffee meetings, trying to convince everyone that she and CJ just reconnected after the breakup, but Gemma found old screenshots of their flirty texts from March. March? I did my own math. We were looking at wedding venues in March. Exactly. And now half the office knows she was cheating, and the other half is pretending they don't know because it's too awkward. The second crack came when CJ's ex-girlfriend, Rebecca, decided to share her own story on the local Facebook drama group. Apparently, CJ had used the exact same sliding into DMs strategy with her, complete with the Tesla photos and promises of upgrading her lifestyle. "He has a type," Rebecca wrote in a post that quickly went viral in our small city. "Engaged women who are feeling unappreciated. He love bombs them until they leave their fiancés, then gets bored and moves on to the next challenge. Vanessa Clark, girl, you're not special. You're just next in line." The post included screenshots of CJ's messages to Rebecca, which were eerily similar to what Maya had shown me of his conversations with Vanessa. The same compliments, the same promises, even the same emoji combinations. But the third crack was the one that really shattered Vanessa's carefully constructed narrative. I was at the Rusty Anchor with Shayla when Pete, the bouncer, approached our table with a grin that meant trouble. "You're gonna love this," he said, pulling out his phone. "My cousin works at that fancy gym where your ex and her boy Toy work out. Guess what happened during their couples training session today?" He showed us a video that someone had discreetly filmed. There was Vanessa, red-faced and screaming at CJ in the middle of the gym, while other members stopped their workouts to stare. "She found out about Rebecca's post," Pete explained. "Confronted him right there on the gym floor. He tried to play it off, but she wasn't having it. Listen to this." In the video, Vanessa's voice carried clearly over the ambient gym noise. "You told her the exact same things you told me. Word for word, Craig. Do you have a fucking script?" CJ's response was barely audible, but his body language screamed guilt, hands up defensively, backing away, looking around desperately for an exit. "The best part," Pete continued, "is that she threw his protein shake at him. $30 organic whatever, right in his face in front of everyone." Shayla was trying not to laugh. "Please tell me someone got that part on video too." "Oh, honey," Pete said, swiping to the next clip. "You know they did." Watching Vanessa lose her composure so completely should have felt like victory. Instead, I felt something unexpected. Pity. Not for the cheating or the lies, but for how desperately she'd needed external validation that she'd destroyed something real for something fake. "She's texting me," Shayla said, looking at her phone with disgust. "Wants to meet up and explain everything. Says she made a mistake and wants to fix things with you." "With me?" Apparently, CJ's not looking like such an upgrade anymore. His consulting business is mostly a pyramid scheme, his Tesla is leased, and he's already back on dating apps. I looked at Shayla. Really looked at her. Somewhere between Vanessa's drama and my own recovery, I'd started noticing things. The way Shayla listened without trying to fix everything, how she laughed at my sarcastic comments instead of rolling her eyes. The fact that she'd been there, consistently, without expecting anything in return. "What did you tell her?" I asked. That she burned that bridge when she chose to cheat instead of communicate, and that maybe she should focus on figuring out why she needs a man to validate her worth instead of trying to win back the one she threw away. "Damn, Shayla, remind me never to get on your bad side." She smiled, but there was something serious in her expression. "Logan, can I ask you something?" "Shoot." "What are you going to do when she really does try to come back? Because she will, and she'll pull out all the stops, tears, promises, maybe even the ring." I thought about it for a moment, watching the video of Vanessa's public meltdown loop on Pete's phone. "I'm going to do what I should have done months ago," I said finally. "I'm going to choose someone who chose me first." Shayla's breath caught. "Logan, I'm serious. You've been right here the whole time, and I was too stupid to see it. Vanessa could replace me in 24 hours because she never really wanted me in the first place. But you—" I reached across the table and took her hand. "You've been waiting for me to wake up, haven't you?" She nodded, tears threatening to spill over. "Then consider me awake." When we kissed, right there in the rusty anchor with Pete cheering and the regulars applauding, it felt like coming home after a long, exhausting trip to somewhere I never wanted to go in the first place. That's when Vanessa walked in. Vanessa stood in the doorway of the rusty anchor like a woman surveying the wreckage of her own making. The place smelled of fried shrimp and beer, the kind of comfort that clung to the wood panels and the regulars who'd been coming here since they were old enough to drink. But Vanessa looked like she didn't belong anymore. Her usually perfect hair was limp, her makeup streaked in patches, and her designer dress looked like she'd either slept in it or fought through a storm to get here. She wasn't the polished fiancée I used to know. She was a storm cloud in heels, and she was headed straight for me. She spotted me instantly, and the second her eyes landed on the sight of me and Shayla holding hands across the table, her expression shifted. Whatever sadness or regret she might have carried in with her twisted into pure fury. "Seriously," she said, her voice slicing through the bar's chatter like a knife. "My best friend? You couldn't even wait a month before you started screwing my best friend?" Every sound in the bar died at once. Even the jukebox sputtered out mid-song, leaving nothing but silence and the faint clink of glasses behind the counter. Heads turned. People froze with beers halfway to their lips. It was the kind of silence you could feel in your chest. I stood slowly, keeping my voice even. "Vanessa, you don't want to do this here." "Don't I?" She pulled her phone from her purse with shaky hands, scrolling furiously. "You want to talk about timing, Logan? Let's talk about timing. I've got screenshots of Shayla liking your posts for months. Months. While we were engaged, she was out here dropping heart emojis on your photos." Shayla rose beside me, cheeks flushed, but her voice steady as stone. "Supporting my friend's relationship isn't the same thing as cheating, Vanessa. Unlike some people, I know the difference between loyalty and betrayal." "Friendship?" Vanessa barked out a bitter laugh, though it cracked halfway into a sob. "Don't pretend this was innocent. You've been waiting for us to fall apart since day one. Just admit it." Shayla surprised everyone, including me, when she met Vanessa's rage head-on. "You're right. I was waiting. Waiting for you to see what you had and treat him like he mattered. Waiting for you to stop acting like Logan was lucky to be tolerated. And when you finally showed your true colors, yes, I was here for him. Because that's what real friends do. They step in when someone's been torn down." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Pete, the bartender, actually paused mid-pour to listen. Vanessa's face collapsed, her bravado giving way to desperation. "I made a mistake, okay? CJ was... he was a mistake. I was confused. I felt unappreciated. I cut her off before she could spin the same tired excuses. "And instead of talking to me, you lined up a replacement behind my back while planning our wedding. That's not confusion, Vanessa. That's calculation." Her hands trembled, her phone slipping back into her purse. "But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can..." "No." The word rang harder than I intended, but it felt right. "We can't fix what was never broken. This isn't about CJ, and it's not about Shayla. It's about the fact that when things got hard, your first instinct wasn't to fight for us. It was to run to someone else." Tears streamed down her cheeks. For just a flicker, I saw the woman I fell in love with 3 years ago, the one who laughed with me in the kitchen, who dreamed about building a future. But then she opened her mouth again and shattered the illusion. "Fine, fine. But don't come crawling back when you realize she's just a rebound. Don't come crying to me when you see she's been plotting this all along, waiting to steal my life." Pete finally stepped forward, his bar rag tossed aside. That's enough. Vanessa, you need to leave. I'm not done. Yeah, you are. His voice carried the weight of a man who'd broken up more bar fights than he could count. You cheated on a good man, got caught, and now you're trying to flip the script because he's not begging you to take him back. That's not how this works. Vanessa scanned the bar for sympathy, but all she found were folded arms and cold stares. Even Maya, her loyal shadow for years, shook her head in disgust. This isn't over, Vanessa whispered, but the venom was gone. She sounded like someone already beaten. Yes, it is, I said softly. It's been over for months. We just didn't admit it. She spun on her heel and stormed out, the door slamming shut behind her. The bar exhaled in unison, conversations bubbling back up, though now threaded with whispers and sidelong glances. You okay? Shayla asked, squeezing my hand gently. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Yeah, better than okay, actually. For the first time in months, I felt air filling my lungs without the weight of betrayal pressing on my chest. The woman who had made me question my worth, who convinced me I was lucky just to be tolerated, was gone. And next to me stood someone who'd seen value in me even when I couldn't. Shayla tilted her head, a small smile tugging at her lips. So, what now? I looked around the rusty Anchor, Pete polishing glasses with that half grin, regulars resuming their card games, Maya raising her beer in a quiet toast to me. The world kept turning, but something fundamental had shifted. Now, I said, we see what happens when someone actually chooses to stay instead of running for the exit. The bar erupted in cheers, not at my words, but at the relief of closure. It wasn't just my story anymore. It was theirs, too. People loved a clean ending. 3 months later, word filtered back through Maya. Vanessa and CJ had imploded. She caught him chasing his next upgrade, just as she once chased him. She moved back in with her parents, announcing on social media that she was taking time to focus on herself. As for me, I was finally learning what it meant to be with someone who didn't see me as a stepping stone or a safety net, but as a place worth staying. It took only 24 hours for Vanessa to burn down something we'd spent years building. But it took that same 24 hours for me to realize I deserved better. And for the first time in a long time, I knew I wasn't just surviving. I was free. The end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.